Grab a pint, grab your lineup. We're about to tap into fantasy. Welcome back to Tap Into Fantasy, the podcast with a professional fantasy mind and an amateur beer palate. I'm Lance Gandy. You can find me on X at LG_fantasy. So this is going to be an abbreviated show as I've been traveling all week. There won't be a beer review this episode. I'm just going to do the Love 'em or Leave 'em segment where I give you two players I love, two players you should leave on your bench for each position for the Week 7 slate. But before we get to all that madness, a toast to those unfair fantasy gods. May the best drafts of your past be the worst of your future. Let's tap in. Hey, real quick, before we jump back in, go ahead and hit that follow button. I know you're sitting there pretending you'll remember later, but let's be real here, you won't. You'll forget, you'll get distracted, you'll scroll TikTok, and then wonder why your life feels so empty. So yeah, just hit follow. I'll fill that emptiness. Okay, so like I said, I'll give you two players I'm hyped about and two I'm definitely not for each position. Except one each for tight end, because nobody needs to go over 4 tight ends every week. This is Love 'em or Leave 'em.
It's Love 'em or Leave 'em, darling. Your fantasy lineup just got a little sexier.
Alright, let's get started with some QBs that are going to go nuclear this week. So this one may be a hot take after the steaming pile he gave you last week, but Justin Fields should have a bounce-back game this week. Yes, he's probably without Garrett Wilson in this one, but the number one thing Justin Fields needs is time. He's the fastest player on the field, but he's ironically the slowest processor in the league. So he holds onto the ball for ages and in return gets sacked a lot. He now gets the Panthers defense that doesn't do that a lot. Get sacks, that is. They are, in fact, the worst at getting them. Fields should have much more time in the pocket to pick them apart and scramble to your heart's content. After being one of the worst run defenses of all time last year, the Panthers have quietly been good against backs this year. That means the Jets will probably need to win on Fields passing and scrambling. You know their non-existent defense is going to keep this game close, so he should have to continually score all game long. Just start him and be happy. So the Bears have started to find a little groove on offense under Ben Johnson, and Caleb Williams looked a lot more settled than he did the first few games. I thought we finally saw glimpses of the Ben Johnson offense from Detroit, and Luther Burden is starting to look like a fun weapon also. Despite being sacked 3 times, a QBR of 37, and rushing for -2 yards, Caleb was still able to score 20 points in Week 6 against a feisty Commanders D. He now gets New Orleans, who's given up the 5th most points to QBs. They've already allowed 14 touchdown passes in 6 games. They've just been a pass funnel. They're 6th in EPA versus run. Chicago will need to pass to win the game, and they should be able to. He's an easy start in all leagues. I definitely watch the weather, though, at Soldier Field before kickoff. It could be rainy and windy. That would hurt the passing game a little, so just make sure to keep an eye on it. So now for the QB poo-poo platter, the duds of the week. First up is a wild one. Jalen Hurts. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying to outright sit him in every league. I have him ranked 8th on the week for now, but even that feels a tad high. I mean, why do the Eagles always do this? They always have some stupid game they lose, and the vibes just look horrible. It's just the make or break week for this team now. The Vikings are the best pass defense in the NFL so far, and Hurts has looked aggressively average throwing the ball through 6 games. The Eagles are 22nd in EPA per pass play. He's also had just 16 yards rushing total the last 2 weeks, even though some tush pushes kept his fantasy total decent. This seems like a classic get-right game for Saquon, as the Vikings run light boxes normally on D. I would temper expectations for Hurts this week. There could be turnovers, and he could get poached by Barkley in the red zone. So the last QB to faceplant this week is CJ Stroud. After being unplayable the first 3 weeks, he started to look competent in week 4 against a gettable Tennessee defense, and then threw up 29 fantasy points against a lifeless Baltimore defense the next game. The offensive line issues aren't fixed. They were just able to handle 2 bottom 10 defenses that can't get pressure. The Seahawks don't have a problem with that. They rank 5th in the NFL with a 26.3% pressure rate and 3rd with 20 sacks according to Pro Football Reference. What's scary is they're also doing this with the lowest blitz percentage in the NFL at 13.7%. It now looks like they could get the 3 most important players in their secondary back in Devin Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, and Julian Love. This is just going to be a gritty, nasty game with stormy, windy conditions. There's going to be few fantasy points to go around in this one. Okay, before we get into running backs, let's take a quick break. This episode is powered by Dubby Energy. It's my go-to for a clean boost with 0 crash and 0 jitters, whether I'm grinding out drafts or just need that mid-afternoon push. No junk, no guilt, just focus. Hit the link in the description and use promo code TAPINTOFANTASY for 10% off. Dubby brings the energy. You bring the winning picks. And we're back with the running backs that will make you smile this weekend. First one I'll highlight is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So this is a layup pick. I mean, you can really pick any back going against the Cowboys defense. The Cowboys have allowed the 4th most points to the position and are 7th in EPA versus the run. You can basically say that for every position against this pitiful D, though. What I did want to highlight was the growing usage for Bill. He had a season-high 66% snap share and had 17 of the 19 running back carries in Week 6. Part of the reason was because Chris Rodriguez was injured in the game, but it looks like he should miss at least another week. Jeremy McNichols is still taking most of the passing downs, so Bill can sort of get game scripted out when Washington falls behind, but Jaden Daniels looked healthy, so I expect this to be a very competitive game. He still ranks 3rd in the NFL in rushing yards over expected per attempt. He's been a baller. Expect Bill to do well with a bunch of touches. So another player I'm higher on than the market this week is Jordan Mason. Like I told you that Bill was 3rd in rushing yards over expected per attempt, but Mason's not too shabby either at 7th. I'm guessing we're going to get another Carson Wentz start this week, but whichever QB they go with, they're going to be rushing the ball a ton in this one. The Eagles run a lot of light boxes, so it's sort of by design that they're only 22nd in EPA per run play, much like the Vikings defense. So they've already allowed 806 rushing yards in 6 games. Like Mason is also the red zone guy, and I expect Wentz to have some success with Quinyon Mitchell probably out this game. Like JJ should have a field day, and Mason should be able to punch in 1 or 2. So you were able to win the bidding war for Kamani Vidal last week on waivers. I'm very proud of you. You get a gold star. You can nicely put him on your bench now. So he was able to do some fun things against a Miami defense that looks like it's given up on life. That should be a different story against the 6th-ranked Indianapolis defense. So they've only allowed 18.6 points per game to the running back position, and they're coming off a game allowing only 88 rushing yards to the Cardinals. 88 total rushing yards. Like at the moment, it's up in the air if Joe Alt returns for them, and even if he goes, he's coming off a high ankle sprain quicker than normal. Like they haven't been able to consistently run the ball against good defenses all year. If there's an owner in your league hurting and he wants to give you a nice haul after seeing what Vidal did last week, I think you could trade him high. Like the Chargers are going to struggle running the ball. Omarion Hampton is eyeing being back in week 13. Sell high if you can. So Travis Etienne started this year out like a locomotive, but that has sputtered to more of a creaky toy train the last few weeks. He hasn't reached 60 total yards in 3 of his last 4 games, and has been RB 30 and 28 the past 2. Check out this tweet from @blitzlink_, which is Ryan Linkletter. He's currently only RB 27 in expected points per game, 122nd in EPA, 26th among running backs in target share, and has the 26th easiest schedule moving forward. This is the sell high moment for ETN. Like, do it before he faces this Rams front that allows the second least amount of points to the running back position. If ETN keeps being ineffective, the team could easily start moving towards playing the rookie Bishal Tootin more, another reason to move off of him. Like, I would check out the owners with Bill Krosky Merritt or Quinshon Judkins to see if you could do ETN, possibly even straight up for them, but ETN and maybe another little piece for them, just see if they're willing to sell. Hey, before I go over receivers, I've got a simple request. Leave a review. It helps way more than you think, and it's the best way to tell me, hey man, you're doing all right. Or, you tried. I'll take either. So Quentin Johnston is back this week and should be able to blow up in a big way. The top cornerback on the Colts, Charvarius Ward, still looks to be out due to the most ridiculous concussion I've ever seen in warm-ups a couple weeks ago. That means wheels up for Johnston, who's gone over 70 yards in each of his 4 full games and is the clear wide receiver 1 when healthy on this team. He leads the team with 2.02 yards per route run, and the Colts are 29th in receiving yards against. This is at home in a dome with a 48.5 point over-under. Like, this has shootout written all over it, and you should join the party with Johnston. So it's a brutal week for receiver matchups with injuries and bad weather, but I wanted to dig down deep to grab you maybe a flex you could look to, and you could do worse than having Tez Johnson from the Bucks. This is the premier matchup of the week with a huge 52.5 point over-under in the domed Ford Field. Like, Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin are for sure out, and it sounds truly 50-50 whether Mike Evans will play in this one. If he doesn't, Tez Johnson actually played the most snaps last week with all 3 sidelined, and I imagine would do the same in this one. Dan Campbell doesn't even know what players he's throwing out there in the secondary, with Kirby Joseph, Avonte Maddox, and Terrion Arnold most likely out. Sterling Shepard may be the leading target getter if Evans doesn't go, but Johnson has a bigger ceiling as a burner down the field. He's very boomer bust, but he could hit big for you in this one. If Juwan Jennings plays in this one, I just don't know how you trust him in your lineup. Like, he went on record saying he's playing through 5 broken ribs, but also has a shoulder and ankle listed on the injury report. He left last game early and has a huge chance of doing that just literally every week going forward. Like, even if he stays in, he's going up against a Falcons defense that's given up the 6th least points to receivers in the league. AJ Terrell and Billy Bowman have been balling out, and they should give this struggling 49ers offensive line fits. Like, they're second in sack percentage, and Mac Jones is coming off a game where he was sacked 6 times. Also, George Kittle returns this week and could easily just automatically take over as the top target on the team. Leave Jennings and his 5 broken ribs on the bench. Speaking of bad weather, winds could get up to 60 miles an hour for the Dolphins-Browns game, and Tua can barely throw the ball 15 yards with no wind. Like, it's going to be another rainy, nasty game in Cleveland that already has an over-under of 36.5 points. That spells doom for Jalen Waddle, who may have to rely on short crossers and screens because that may be all Tua can throw. Like, keep checking on the weather up to game time. If it lets up, I think Waddle could actually be a decent wide receiver 2 in this matchup. But if winds are supposed to be over 40 miles an hour, I would try to keep him on your bench. Like, we've seen Josh Allen get stymied by gale winds. Now imagine Tua in them. Not good. Okay, so last and probably least are the tight ends. So one I'm expecting big things out of this week is Mason Taylor from the Jets. I shouted him out a couple weeks ago, and he was able to put up a useful 9 catches for 67 yards. He's going up against the Panthers, who have given up 17.6 points per game to tight ends. That's almost more than the Vikings give up total to wide receivers. Like with no Garrett Wilson in this one and just a bunch of Jags at receiver, they should be leaning heavily on Taylor. I would very much avoid TJ Hawkinson if you're able to. He's just not a focus of this offense anymore. I don't view him as a top 12 tight end. He has one top 12 finish so far in week 3, and that was without Jordan Addison. He scored below 8 fantasy points in every other game, and now he gets the defense that's given up the second least points to tight ends this year in the Eagles. That's not new for the Eagles, as they were top 5 last year also. Hawkinson has also just had one red zone target. Like, this is a game where they're going to try and hide Carson Wentz by running the ball and heavy play action deep shots to Justin Jefferson. Hawkinson will be very low on the target totem pole. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Tap Into Fantasy. If you liked what you heard, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps the show find other degenerates like you. Hit me up on X at LG_fantasy or email at tapintofantasy@gmail.com with any start-sit questions you have. Thanks for tapping in, and until next time, happy pours, happy scores.